Welcome everyone to theScore Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host Justin Boone, the lead fantasy analyst at theScore, and today's episode is presented by Subway, who now delivers so you can get back to the game. We got a great show for you this week as we're going to get you ready here for week 2 of the fantasy season, and you know me by now. I want to keep these episodes as tight as possible. We want to get you as much information as we can in the shortest amount of time, and to help me with that, I've been bringing on some of the best in the industry to share their knowledge with you. We got another one today. It's Jared Smola, and he's lucky that I asked him on the podcast today because the truth is he's one of only 3 analysts who finished ahead of me in the Fantasy Pros accuracy competition last year. But I'm telling you, if you're following him on Twitter, he's got great stats, great info, usage rates, all kinds of stuff. You should definitely be following him at Smola DS. Very happy to have him with us. Jared, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Justin. That was a battle last year with you and a couple other guys at the top of that Fantasy Pros competition.
Yeah, it was a really strange year. I mean, we don't need to get too much into it. I know at the end of the season last year, I hashed it out a whole bunch, but the tight ends were so difficult last year with all the injuries. It was a very strange year, and I was happy that I was able to actually fight my way back at the end to get back into the top 5.
Yeah, me too. And there are so many, obviously, really smart guys in there. So, I was fortunate to have such a good season. We'll see, if both of us can repeat that this year.
That every year going in, that's how I act too. Every year it's like, is this going to be the year that I totally fall on my face and I'm not going to be able to make it happen? And then fortunately, I've been lucky enough every season to be around the top there. Nice. Well, I want to begin today. This is going to be a little more of, a radio segment style question here. So I'll apologize in advance for that one. But after we saw Lamar Jackson come out last week, and throw 5 touchdowns in week 1, looked really accurate as a passer. Now, I know it was against the Dolphins defense, and, there's a lot of different quarterbacks obviously out there that you could have picked up. Lamar Jackson was one that we highly recommended to go after in the late rounds. That performance in week 1 was kind of reminiscent of last season when we recommended grabbing Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes came out and threw 4 touchdowns in last year's opener. Now, Mahomes followed that up with 6 touchdowns the week after, so it's a very high bar for Jackson, obviously, on this one. But if he can mix even average passing stats with that rushing ability that he has, we really could see him enter the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks by the end of the year here and really finish that way. So that leads me to the radio segment kind of question here. For fantasy, Jared, is Lamar Jackson this year's Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I don't even think Patrick Mahomes is this year's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you can't count on seasons like that. I mean, my biggest takeaway from that week 1 game is that we want to attack the Dolphins D in fantasy this season. I mean, it's not a good defense from a personnel standpoint. I think it already looks like, half the guys on that team have quit on the season. So that's my biggest takeaway. But I'm definitely open to Lamar Jackson taking a big step forward as a passer. Having Marquise Brown obviously helps. Even if he's not, putting up 100-plus yards and 2 touchdowns, he's going to open things up for that passing game. And we didn't even see Lamar Jackson's rushing ability in that opener. It was all through the air, which is pretty amazing. The other thing with Lamar Jackson, the schedule sets up nicely for him too here. He gets the Cardinals this coming week, a nice matchup. The Chiefs after that could be a shootout. I looked at the Ravens schedule. I don't really see a scary matchup for Lamar Jackson until the Patriots in week 9.
It's pretty wild. I mean, even like this week, I have him ranked as my QB3, and that's behind Mahomes, who we just talked about, and Tom Brady, who's got the great matchup with the Dolphins there. As long as Jackson stays healthy, the thing I love about him is the rushing floor gives him such a high floor in fantasy. And then, like I said, if you add that together with the passing stats, we're not going to see the 5 touchdowns again. That's definitely going to be a season high. But if he puts that together with some decent passing stats, he's going to be a difference maker this year in fantasy, and I wish I had him even more places than I already do.
Yeah, me too. I was too low on him to start the season here, but he's definitely safely inside my top 10 quarterbacks for the rest of the season.
Said leave on time, my baby said leave on time.